This particular video is about the trend analysis of history for the prelims, and we will cover the prelims examinations of 2011 and 19. And let's first see the year-wise trend analysis. So as you can see, history, the average questions asked in last 9-10 years is around 18-20 questions. So don't underestimate the importance of history in prelims. That history includes the questions from the ancient history, medieval history, modern history, including Indian national movement, and the art and culture. Most of the history is static, you all know about that, but a few questions from the current art and culture in particular are also asked. In last couple of years, one question each from post-independence as well as from modern world, which also falls under the GK aspect, is also there. That's why in some of the analysis you will find that in 2019 there were more questions. So a few questions you can forget about because they fall under more than one category. But the main thing which you need to focus upon here is that the on an average 18 to 20 questions will be there. So even if right now you have not gone through your revisions, then do watch our videos, because if your concepts are clear, if you have the basic knowledge of the story, then you can quickly recall using the keywords which I am going to speak in the chronological manner. I am also going to give you some new value additional information which you can use for improving your score, improving your performance, and that will be based on the trend. Let's see the sectional analysis. In these sections, let's look at the ancient history question in the last 9-10 years. You can see I have divided it in two parts. In the first part is the ancient political, socio economical aspects, political, administrative, socio-economical aspect, and the later part is the ancient art and culture, which mainly including literature, like Vedic literature is there, religious aspect, like that in the Jainism, Buddhism, other heterodox sects, and sculpture, architecture is there. So this is the focus of the questions from ancient India, that is culture. Ancient culture is really important. Next came the medieval. In the medieval, although the importance, generally it is considered that medieval nowadays questions are not asked. In particularly in last few years, the proportion of the questions asked from medieval, except in the last year, has reduced quite a bit. Many centers even don't focus on the medieval in their syllabus, in their coaching, in their coverage of the entire syllabus. As you can see, that medieval, the division of the questions from the conventional portion, that is polity, administrative, socio-economic as well as cultural, is near about same, but you can't take much out of it. It can enhance or decrease in times, but here there is a clear majority of the questions from ancient culture, which is a trend. And in modern, the cultural questions from modern culture, like modern paintings, architecture of New Delhi, etc., is negligible. Primarily they come from Indian national movement. These two questions are actually the miscellaneous ones, and there are a few more can be added to it. I have not added it, like modern India questions from last couple of years, which also falls under the general knowledge, I have already told you, or the post India questions, which actually is a part of the mains history syllabus. Now the topic wise number of the previous year question, the trend, okay, I have not included that because it is not useful for you at this moment of time. How many questions came from, say, from the British Act under the EIC Legislature Act, under the East India Company's time, the regulatory acts, or under the British Crown, like 1892 Act, 1909 Act, 1919 Act, 1935 Act. So such analysis is not useful. You need to know about the broad trend, but this is quite fluid, so you need not worry about this. Okay. Now next one is important, the ancient trend, which I have just given in overview of. Let's find out the focus of those questions. In the political, administrative, social and economic, what you need to focus upon even at this juncture is chronology. All of you need to focus on the chronology. Just based on the chronology you can eliminate certain options, so do focus on the chronology. In case you have problem with the history in prelims, then do read the chronology before the day of exam, and then by doing this only you will be able to eliminate certain options logically. For example, if one option does not fall under that particular time period, then you can easily, just by looking at it, can eliminate that. And there are certain questions which can be solved, which you can remove certain options by this strategy. Then economic history, guilds, coins, etc., administrative history, particularly the regional part, like the land grants, etc. Now the focus on the Guptas as well as the Mauryan administration is not that much, although the political aspects are important for understanding it. But at this moment, when you have to start revising, just time is not much, and the chronology itself will help in recalling that one, and you can focus on the economic history as well as administrative history. Then travelers account like Fahian and Hyun Sang, the two most important foreign travelers of the ancient India. There are other travelers even during the Harsha's time period. Apart from Hyun Sang, Itsing was there, Wang Hyun Se was there. I will mention them while covering the ancient period. There was foreign ambassadors. Heliodorus was there, who erected Garud Dhavaja, and Garud Dhavaja will be there in Indian sculpture video. There was Megasthenes in the Mauryan court, right? Megasthenes Indicas, you need to find out about the important points of Megasthenes Indica. Then you can have a statement, 2 or 3 statement about Megasthenes Indica, in which one of the statement or two of the statement might be wrong. So you need to remember that such questions are quite common. And for ancient history, you can, in particularly for the revision, do focus on maps. I have included maps in my videos, and it might be very useful for you guys at this point. Next, the most important part of the ancient history is the art, culture, religion, philosophy and science. And religion, not just Buddhism and Jainism, from which a question always comes, particularly from Buddhism nowadays, from Mahayana Buddhism, Bodhisattva doctrine and Bodhisattva associated aspect of Bodhisattva are very important in UPSC trend. Questions are asked regularly from that. Then the Shaivism or Vaishnavism, their sects, subsects, they are very important. Vaishnavism sects, okay. Then 3 schools of art, Mathura, Gandhara and Amravati, Vedic literature, philosophical school, because these philosophical schools, then in medieval times, in medieval Bhakti tradition, Vedanta, again in medieval times they were variants like Shuddha Vedanta or Advaita, Dvaita, Shuddha Dvaita, okay. So these actually emanate from here. Then these architecture, the temples of various regions of India, the sculptures. Even last year in 2019, Ashoka's Kanganahalli stone sculpture was asked, a question was asked on it, as in 2015, in 2014 or in 2014 there was a question on a couple of sculpture like Buddha's Mahaparinirvan sculpture at Ellora Cave 19, if I recall correctly. Okay, so everything, all of these will be covered with pictures in the culture video. Next, medieval history, again focus on the chronology for the political aspects of recalling that, and focus on the regional powers like Bahmanis and Vijayanagara's administrative aspect, and travelers, number of the travelers visited India and various parts of India, and do focus on that. But you can opt out of the medieval, some of the medieval aspect, if you can cover the chronology and you know the basics of it, then then depending upon the time and the priority areas in this last 1 month, you can revise it. But do focus upon the art and culture, religions, again inscriptions, sculptures and architecture, regional architecture, and as well as Indo-Islamic architecture. This is a must to for medieval Indian history and modern Indian history, in which Indian national movement, you should read a very detailed chronology of it in detailed manner, as well as the legislative acts, each and every point, which will also help in polity. Okay, so this falls under both polity as well as in Indian national, but primarily it is part of the modern history Indian national movement. Its art culture is not that important, but legislative act as well as Indian national movement, and those lists like that of Congress president and sessions, that of the list of the social religious reform organization, so those lists as well as that of the newspaper, you need to cover, you need to read those lists very carefully. A direct question can be asked from there, and it is quite common. A direct question do come from these lists. Just based on these lists, you can eliminate many options, or even a direct question can be solved. Then current and conventional art of cultures, I will also cover the those important art and culture news items, like take example of the Manjusha art. Manjusha art news. Manjusha art is like Madhubani art from the Bhagalpur region of Bihar. In August 2019, Eastern Railways used the Manjusha paintings on the coaches of Vikramshila Express, and that's why it is important. If there is a centenary celebration, if some event, a cultural event has made some record, and the latest World Heritage sites, the last one which was in India, some government initiative, so they will be covered. Okay, I'm not going to cover each and every cultural news which are you might find in the any centers material or any other material, because I think some of them are necessary. I will cover the most important one only. So all the best, guys.